Hello, and thank you very much for joining us for this discussion about Israeli technology and investment. My name is Hanan Brand, and I'm the Vice President and Head of the Startup Division in the Israel Innovation Authority. Today we will be speaking about Israeli opportunities, technology, and how do we work with investors in Israel and abroad. And we have with us a few very prominent panelists. We will start with Joanna Landau, who's a strategist and expert in branding of countries. We have Anat Naschitz, who's the founder of 9Exchange and also managing partner of OrbiMed Israel. Nicole Priel, partner at IBEX Investors, and Mati Gill, the CEO of AION Labs. So, Joanna, I'll start with you. The brand Startup Nation is, of course, known all around the world. And I'd like to ask you, so what defines the unique character of the Israeli entrepreneur that makes the secret sauce of our ecosystem here?
So I think we could say that it's a combination of three kind of main aspects. One is that we are, by definition, specifically the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem, we're a problem-solving society. That is who we are. There's Nassim Taleb wrote the book Black Swan. He recently wrote the book Anti-Fragile. We are anti-fragile by definition. If you hit us, we come back stronger, which is a very attractive quality to have, especially in an unclear, sort of restless world. The second thing is the warm and inviting community that Israel sort of offers the world. If you're going to invest in Israel, you become part of our family. We care about you like we care about our family. And so we will put all of our effort into whatever it is that needs to get done, which is very promising for investment purposes. And the third thing is that we live in a country that has a purpose, and we're committed all the time to getting things done, to making the world better. Everything that we do is defined by purpose. And when you have people like that, I think that's very, very unique.
I summarize it in one word, or maybe two. We care, okay? We care. We bring our entire soul into things, and we're resilient in a way that I think you probably don't see in many other places. And the way things have evolved since October 7 is essentially proof of that.
No job is too big or too small. Right?
Yeah.
So the Israeli entrepreneur can look at the big giants of the world, the multinational organizations, and say, yeah, I can take them on. Me and my partner in our little garage and maybe a dog and a pitch deck, we can take on the world.
I think when you talk about building a startup, there are so many hurdles that come in front of every startup and its growth journey. Whether it's funding, whether it's a team breaking up, whether it's technology or the customer doesn't work or investors pull out. So you're going to need to prove and show that you're, as a team that's founding a startup, are going to be able to take it the full distance and overcome many barriers. So right now, over the last 4 months, we're proving that. We don't need to tell people we can do that. We are proving we can be resilient and overcome every barrier possible. And if I'm a multinational investor and we're seeing that feedback, I would say, I want to invest in these type of guys, or women, of course.
So, Mati, we heard many of stories about founders that were able to close deals, that were able to close funding rounds, create clinical trials, while being in reserve duty or being under fire, which is, I think, for maybe foreign people might sound like science fiction. Are there any stories about companies who were able to succeed during this challenging times?
Yeah, Hanan, and I'm happy to say that during the last 4 months, we were able to close multiple investment deals, as well as also add a new VC partner to the AION Labs family, which doubled down on our venture studio, and also to reach a seed fund, a seed round for one of our startups.
Nicole, what about your fund?
One of my portfolio company founders, who CEO, runs the company, a couple dozen folks, was called into Gaza on October 7th, spent the last 3.5 months there. He did manage to close a very significant deal in December while he was in the Army. And he got special permission from the Army in January to fly out to Las Vegas for the CES conference. Spent 4 days running the floor, doing demos, non-stop meetings, got back on a plane, came to Israel, and went straight back to the Army. And that's the resilience of the Israeli entrepreneur, and we see it day in and day out.
I'd add also the flexibility that you're talking about, not only of the private side, but also from the public side, the army that is enabling its soldiers to come and actually talk during that with investors, I think is amazing. We as a government agency, we also moved quite quickly. We approved $100 million, I think only a week after, for companies, because we understood the first thing that you do is reserve, and our ability to invest $100 million, we invest in the companies who have the biggest problems. Many of them have people in reserve duty. I think also was part of moving ahead the ecosystem, and I'm happy to see that private-public partnership here is a good example.
There's something to add about that, which you didn't ask about, but it relates to something that was said earlier. People really help each other. There's a sense of unity. We're all in this together. We're, 5 minutes after the war started, everybody was doing stuff, right, to help. And within the tech ecosystem, it's the same. Everyone's pitching in to help each other. Everyone's connecting people and giving them feedback and whatever. Just we're all in it to help each other. And I think that's a sense of unity and glue and shared responsibility for the success of our mission, whatever that is. And my mission is her mission and his mission and everybody's.
It's part of the characteristic, actually, of the
It's the family thing you talked about.
Yeah, it was even before October 7th.
Yeah, but
like
more
that,
now.
you will sit down with a competitor, and we don't have that kind of sense where we're each separate because we have a common purpose.
Yeah.
So in my previous work in an NGO, we were thinking about, everyone was talking about chutzpah, right? Israelis are good and very, being blunt and telling your face. But we were thinking about this character that you're talking about, and we found the word, firgun, right? There's a word only in Hebrew, in German, by the way, but not in English, which is talking about, I'm happy for your success because it's also my success.
Yeah.
And I feel what you're speaking about is this sense of unity that we felt here, that if I help you, I actually gain from that, and it really helped us, I think, grow from this opportunity here. I'd like to ask something a bit different. So everyone knows about, in the last 6-7 years, there was a lot of success in SaaS, in fintech, in cyber, and great companies that were created out of Israel, like Wix and Monday, etc. But you have your two panelists that are working in the biotech sector, which is, of course, much harder. It takes a longer time to market. There's FDA approvals, etc. Do you see other pillars and technologies that maybe can be the next wave of technologies that in Israel here, out of cyber, fintech, and SaaS?
Absolutely. I do think life science is next. I think life science is next for a number of reasons. First of all, we have very, very strong academic pillars in this area, and that's actually what continues to sprout innovation. And we have entrepreneurs within academia and elsewhere that are able to take that and leverage it forward. And I think there are certain areas in which Israelis are really, really strong. And I also think, and I know, there's a very strong network of people who have either originated here or have been here and are everywhere in the world in key positions within pharma, biotech, academia, elsewhere. So this engine exists. It needs lubrication, it needs more capital, it needs structure. And there are areas in which we're super strong. What Mati is doing with AION Labs is incredible, right? AI machine learning, as applied to life science kind of research and discovery, is definitely a very strong pillar that I think we're going to be very unique in going forward.
Can I just expand on that? Sorry, because you're very much within the industry, and I look at it from a bird's eye point of view, because I often, when you're looking at a country and how it tells its story to the world, then we want to know what the world needs, and then what can we offer, right? And I think that if we look at, we're post-COVID, we're post-9/11, the world, by definition, there are certain aspects of needs that are coming up, especially with younger generations, things like mental health, that whole aspect of loneliness, all these different things that I definitely think Israel can touch on those elements and kind of offer solutions very quickly. And the other thing is, I'm absolutely convinced that Startup Nation 2.0 is going to be about rapid response. We're excellent at pivoting. Israelis took whatever they did before, and on October 7th just pivoted at a level which was unheard of. We had, in 2023, there was a very large protest movement. That ability to have logistical connections, whether it's through WhatsApp, groups that we got to tell one another what to do and where to turn up. On October 7th, that helped us, pivot. It was the high-tech community very much that was responsible for making sure that certain, even ammunition and different things like that got to the soldiers. I have a son who's in Gaza. I was driving around the country, bringing him all sorts of, needs that he may have had. And we're still seeing to this day that the private sector is very much supporting the public sector at a time when the public sector is feeling very kind of shocked by the situation. And that rapid response is something that other countries might need to deal with, whether it's a massive climate disaster, it could be another COVID, it can be, sadly, a terrorist situation. What do you do when you quickly need to pivot? Israel's the place to learn from. I'm sure that's going to be the next thing.
And as a global fund that has offices in many countries, do you see any difference in the character of the Israeli entrepreneur, maybe compared to the American one or the European founder?
Yes. I think there's the famous adage of the Israeli entrepreneur, if the door is closed, they'll find a way in through the window, and if the window's locked, they'll get in through the roof. And we see that day in and day out, and it relates to what we said earlier, that there's no job too big or too small for Israeli entrepreneurs. They're dedicated to their mission, they're dedicated to their nation, they're dedicated to their team. So we are really, really inspired by the entrepreneurial spirit that is so innate in Israel. You see it in folks from such young ages across the spectrum of Israeli society. So we continue to be excited, and that's why we're doubling down.
I could say we at ION Labs, we have 3 of our startups actually have non-Israeli founders that have come to Israel to build startups here, and their team is all Israeli. So we're seeing that actually happening, where you're bringing in great experience from abroad, great scientific experience from abroad, to come in here and help Israeli teams learn that experience, but then the Israeli teams end up inspiring these entrepreneurs, and they're falling in love with the methodology and all that Nicole explained now. So we're seeing that type of multinational team building, bringing out the best from all worlds.
I want to ask you, many multinational companies who are supporting ION Labs today have great R&D facilities. They have many startups in their original countries. Why are they coming here?
So I would say 2 things. One is to touch on where Israel can play a competitive role as an ecosystem in the future of the biotech industry. And that is where we forget, but biotech is made up of 2 components, the bio and the tech. And the future of the industry will place a greater emphasis on the tech part of that equation. And that's where Israel can bring in unique strengths in the AI and machine learning and computational capabilities, including comp bio and comp chemistry. And our multinational companies have recognized that and said, we're not going to be the only player. We're always going to have Boston, we'll always have San Diego, we'll always have Germany, London, that's fine. But we will have Israel as one of the other ecosystems that great technologies can come out for and help to really revolutionize the way that we discover and develop new drugs. In addition to that, I'll say that some of the phenomenons we're seeing of abroad, maybe on campuses that are becoming a little bit more challenging, the multinationals that have actually worked in Israel and have actually met Israelis and invested in Israelis and worked with them and gotten to know the people, we're not seeing those type of phenomenons from the multinational companies, quite the opposite. The leadership of companies at corporate levels are very strongly coming out with moral clarity in support of continuing to support what they believe is right. And we're very much inspired by that, and it's very important to most Israelis. And we're seeing that they're continuing to double down and support Israel and invest.
I saw that with the CEO of Intel recently said it very,
Intel,
very
CEO of
loudly.
Pfizer.
Yeah. I think very important thing to say that, because you mentioned, non-Israelis investing in Israel, but if you do already have a connection to Israel and you are, you do feel some kind of investing Israeli high tech is investing in the future of Israel. It's investing in our ability to bounce back. It's investing in the future of our children. And I think that is something that, this country before October 7 offered the world a very, very plethora of solutions and abilities to take part in making the world a better place. Investing in Israel now is what's going to, leverage us for the future.
So unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. I'd like to thank our panelists for this messages, saying today that Israeli tech delivers no matter what. And I'd like to thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Anat. Thank you, Nicole. And thank you, Mati. And thank you very much for watching us.